Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. During the break, Mike Cox brought up we have a typo, so probably should take a motion to clarify something. So, Commissioner Drew?
Yeah, on page 6 for non-resident elk, antlered, any legal weapon hunt 4251, we just had a typo on hunt units 072, 073, 074 late. The way it reads now is 072, 072, 074. So I'd make a motion to amend that to say 072, 073, 074. Second. Just to clean that up.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Scott?
The appropriate way to do that, according to our rules, is to we actually have to retract the previous, because it's already passed. Once something's already passed, you got to basically retract the previous one, the 2/3 vote deal, and that's according to Robert's rules. So we need to go ahead and retract that portion of the previous motion that approved that, and then go ahead and re-motion it.
So I'll withdraw my motion then. And
withdraw the second.
We have a motion and a second that's withdrawn, so
Move that we retract and this is 4251, correct?
yes.
Correct.
Move that we retract the previous motion that was made by Commissioner Macbeth on 4251. It's not the exact wording, but it's the effect of it. Yeah, move to retract it to eliminate that previous motion.
Second. So we're only
On
retracting part of it.
4251, on 4251.
Only. Okay.
And then we can redo it.
Okay, so we have a motion to retract and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Okay, now,
all right, so then we'd make a new motion to approve non-resident elk, antlered, any legal weapon hunt 4251 with the following changes. 072, 072, 074 late should be read 072, 073, 074 late, and then we will split unit groups 111 to 115 out from 221, 222 for both the early and late seasons.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed unanimous. That took care of the house. We're moving on to muzzleloader elk.
Bull muzzleloader 4156 and 4256. We have the adding the 073 in with the 7274 unit group. You'll want to, I guess, look at and address the area 11 and 22, and then we, based on the season dates for the rifle bull, we're recommending shifting the muzzleloader season this year in 16 and 17 into that September 17th to the 30th period. We do have for the non-residents, as we saw the quotas go up in our resident muzzleloader tags, we are recommending a couple new units, 062 to 068, and 104, 108, 121 to have a non-resident muzzleloader hunt this year.
Okay. Any questions? I'll take it out to public comment. Any public comment? County advisory reports. Ray?
For the record, Ray Sawyer, White Pine County CAB. Again, I just ask that area 111 through 115 be split from 221 and 222 for the same reasons as I spoke of earlier. Thank you.
Okay, any other county advisory reports? Corey gives me a thumbs up, we're good to go. I'll bring it back to the commission. Anybody got a motion?
Okay, I'll
Macbeth?
go ahead and make a motion. Would make the motion to approve hunts 4256, 4156, elk antlered muzzleloader hunt and the non-resident elk antlered muzzleloader hunt 4256 as proposed by the department, with the exception of splitting units 111 to 115 from units 221 and 222.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Now we're moving on to archery.
Resident antlered elk archery 4161, and its non-resident companion 4261. Same similar changes, clarify the difference in the seasons for the archery. The rotating rut hunts will occur for the muzzleloader and the archery seasons between the 2013 and the 2014 seasons. And we're adding one more non-resident hunt for the Cherry Creek Range, 104, 108, 121.
We good? Any
Yep.
questions? You got anything else, Mike? Any questions?
I think we're going to have the same comment on the 1122 split.
Okay. Same thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any others? Okay.
All right.
For a motion?
Yeah, got a motion?
Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion for resident elk antlered hunt, elk hunt 4161, and non-resident elk antlered archery hunt 4261 to accept the season dates as proposed by the department, with the exception of splitting units 111 and 115 from 221 and 222.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Macbeth, a second by Commissioner Wallace. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Now we're on to elk antlerless.
Antlerless elk, an illegal weapon, 4181. Changes that we did from last year. We added cow season for 065. Obviously, it'll be a limited tag quota. We are splitting the 076, 77, 79, adding 081. Instead of having a single October 1st through the 20th season, split that up into two separate seasons to accommodate an increase in tag quotas that we'll likely be recommending in May. And probably just briefly talk, and it'll cover the 4107 hunt coming up. 081 was a separate unit where we were focusing a separate tag quota on the Goose Creek area, but we've had a elevated number of concerns from the livestock industry up there of the building elk herd, and so this year we've developed a season structure that puts a lot of pressure, continual pressure scattered across the fall and the winter in 081, and we thought if we added 081 to the rest of that northeastern portion of Elko County, it would just be another opportunity for hunters to focus in on that area if they can't find a cow in those other unit groups. So you'll see the extensive 081 season structure in that depredation hunt. Then we added the Unit 132 onto the White Pine Range, the 108, 131 hunt, to include the Grant Quinns. Now we have pretty established cow elk down in the Grant Quinns, so we've added that unit. And I believe that's the only changes on that 4181 hunt.
Okay, any questions from the commission for Mr. Cox? Seeing none, I'll take it out to county advisory boards. Pete, Corey?
For the record, Corey Lytle, Lincoln Cab. I kind of go back to the same old trouble we have with congestion and things of that nature. In 221, 222, and then the 223, 231, 241, and 242 early, we would really like to see that shortened in those units from October 1 to October 16, instead of going to the 20th. We try to structure all the seasons such, and these guys are well aware of it. A lot of the cow hunters, that's the best cow hunt for success. We kill a lot of cows on that hunt. But I also feel that given those dates, we can still fit 2 full weekends in there, which a lot of the cow hunters tend to hunt, generally the weekends. And it also frees up 4 days for the general rifle hunt in those units. And it also frees up an extra weekend for the youth hunters. I know, talking to a lot of parents with the youth, it's really challenging to get them out of school, or if they're in sports, and try to get weekends are really, really critical on the youth hunts. And we're also trying to maintain higher successes in the deer hunts in those units too. And so we'd really like to see that in those units. If we could shorten that first cow hunt to the 16th and then give those extra 4 days just to the deer hunts, it would help. See, we also have muzzleloader bull hunts starting on the 22nd, so you roll a whole new bunch of hunters in after the 20th. And it's only 4 days, but it seems like it's a really critical 4 days. And then on the late hunt, and Mr. Cox might be able to help me with this. On the late hunt in 221, 222, 223, 231, 241, 242, we're constantly trying to kill cows on this hunt. It's a tough hunt. We're trying everything but using helicopters. It's crazy. It's really hard. I know a few years ago we had this hunt split out, middle and late, and I can't remember the success rates on those, but there was a lot of congestion this year on that late hunt because of the high number of tags. We're just trying anything we can to try to get some cows harvested on that hunt. We thought, well, maybe this would work. And it changes year to year too. One storm, one weather event changes success. And Mike might be able to help. I was a little bit worried about the applicants on the late hunt, making sure we have enough applicants to fill quota, but he might be able to answer that.
We have tried lots of different season structures, and there's 2 schools of thoughts in that late of a period. Definitely when you have 2 different openers, you're going to spread the wealth, for sure. And I think I would certainly support that. The only thing I would ask is, in that country, is there a major shift year in, year out in that mid-December period where you start getting more consistent, deeper snow? Would that mid-December through the end of the year, would we put them at a disadvantage of getting around? But I do believe, everything being equal, if we can split some of these cow seasons, probably would be better. Not only do you reduce the hunter congestion, you get some fresh blood out there that are excited to go after some cows, and maybe a different strategy to go after them versus the same guys that are frustrated and maybe go back or not go back. So I'm just concerned, and I don't know, Corey may be able to enlighten us on, would that not likely be a concern of having hunter access through the end of the year from mid-December?
For the record again, Corey Lytle. Yeah, every year is different. This year, we had a good bunch of snow, right, a couple weeks before Christmas. Some of the areas get a little tough, but trust me, there's enough hunters out there, lion hunters, cow hunters, the roads get broken. And so I say, you know, it's not going to be a problem. You know, next year we might have 3 feet in December 20th, but it's highly unlikely. A lot of times, if you get a nice little snowstorm, the hunt's better. So it's, you know, it works both ways. And the dates, we're not really dead set on the dates, but we had the 1st to the 17th, I believe, or the 5th to the 17th of December, and then 18th to January 1. And then on those early hunts, we were October 1 to October 16.
Okay. Any other county advisory boards? Any general public? I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Macbeth.
Mike, any comment on shortening that first season by the 4 days? Do you think that it's going to impact your harvest?
You know, it was that for a few years, and then we extended it. What I would ask, we could go with shortening it, and then we'll take a look at the hunter success. There is a chance that we may not see an appreciable change, reduction in hunter success by taking those 4 days off. We know that October 1st through the 4th, that's, you know, there's not much else going on out there, and they've got no one else to blame for them not being successful in killing a cow before the deer hunters come in. So we certainly can reduce that and then just keep track of that harvest. The only other option is we have seasons going past January 1st. So if we feel like we need to move, and of course it disrupts some of our ability to get some flights done, but it won't be the first time we've probably flown over a few cow elk hunters. But if we feel like we need to extend it to the 10th or whatever, you know, that might be a consideration on that late season.
Yeah, Ken Gray, Eastern Region Game. I talked to our biologists about this season structure, and really we don't have that much problem with it. The only concern he expressed about it was that he was worried with the late season going into the Christmas period that we might not get the harvest that we need in that area, and that we might shift more tags into those earlier 2 seasons. So that'd be something to consider. And maybe what Mike is suggesting is extending that cow season even a little longer into January might make up for that deficit there.
Commissioner Rain.
Thank you. I had a couple questions, hopefully for maybe even Elko County, about Area 81, if they'd had any much discussion about that 081, the different season structure as it has been proposed here. Because I know traditionally, if you want to focus people on 081, you'd have a separate season. We're doing that under depredation rather than regular tags. I kind of want to know if they'd had any discussion of that, or good with this, or it's all okay? It's all okay. Nodding, it's all okay the way it is. Well, that takes care of my question as far as 081. Thank you. Oh, the other one was 065. I asked Mr. Cox, now, we were putting in a bull tag, and I'm not sure how many elk there are up there. I know there's some elk. Is there sufficient for both? And is this an area that needs to have the elk at very low numbers like the Ruby's does?
Ken Gray will talk about our population objectives there and our knowledge of the elk herd.
Yeah, we're estimating that population at about 90 elk or so. We're not talking big quotas. You know, I've noticed that there'll be a little bit of an overlap between our proposed cow season and the new bull quota here. We don't think that's going to be an issue. We're really talking low quotas. That's why we didn't recommend muzzleloader or archery in this round. But we just found that we want to start getting a start on these elk herds before they get up into reaching population objectives. We just want to start getting them on the top end instead of the bottom end.
And so population objectives in 065 are
200.
200. So
Right.
they are to be allowed into that area to grow, unlike some of these other units.
Right, but we want to really control the growth in there because it is in agriculture areas. We want to make sure that we don't have a major problem. So we want to take it slow.
And then I was also, since you're up there, the 145, there's a very slight, like say, movement of elk between that and 144. Would that be reasonable to extend that into that unit as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really documented it, but if they're moving in there, the diamonds are probably one area we really don't want to see elk establishing in. I mean, I wouldn't see a downside to if some cows did show up and we had the depredation hunt going, they don't have to go there, so I don't see a real problem with it.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, most of the observations are within a mile or so of the boundary up there in the summit area there, about Pinot Summit, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Morley?
Ken, maybe can you just stay right there and maybe you can help me with this next deal? I've had discussions with Ken Gray from the department on, as the elk herd expands in the sixes, in the area 6, we've seen some trends that have been happening, and in relationship to the antlerless elk populations, what we found is that most of the late season cow hunters concentrate on 068, and so we're starting to get larger herds in the 066, 067 area that are hard to get hunter success, and they're expanding. They're starting to cause impacts to the private lands around there, haystacks and stuff like that. So what we've come up with is to, and this would be for the resident and the non-resident, is separate out 066 and 067 from the late hunt, which is November 22 through January 1. Take 066 and 067 out of that and add 066 and 067 on its own season from November 22 to January 31. There's no significant access issues due to snow or any, because where the elk tend to migrate is out on a desert area, and there's still ample hunter access to them when they're out there in that time of the year. Also, if we move that season, something that we want to remember is that the 068, we don't want to be hunting cows in January because there's a prime deer winter range there. So we could still get the pressure on the cows without impacting the deer herd in 068. So for those reasons, that's why I would propose to make those changes. Do you have anything to add to that, Ken?
No, we totally support that. We actually think that's better. We threw, if you go back and you look into the depredation antlerless hunt, we put in 066. We'd probably want to see that struck out of there with this new recommendation. Our main deal was to get cow hunting pressure in the month of January in 066 to take pressure off of the fields that we experienced this year, in addition to harvesting additional elk there. So I think that's a really good structure, and the biologist I know really supports that, what Pete just recommended.
Ken, on that single season from November 22nd, Commissioner Morai, to the January 31st, is there any consideration of having 2 seasons, or you just want a single long season?
I think a single long season would be best, because most of the years you don't get snow, but it's going to allow those cow hunters to hunt October or November for sure, where there's no snow, and then getting into December, they've got that choice to either continue hunting, or they're definitely going to be able to access that in that November period. So I think at this point, I think having that long season in there would be pretty effective.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, because due to the length of the season, I don't think hunter congestion will be a problem, because we're talking a pretty large area.
So just to clarify, we have that one, and then for the November 2nd, 22nd through January 1, we're going to take out 066 and 067,
That's correct.
just for the late.
So basically,
And that would be both resident and non-resident.
it'd just be 062, 064, and 068.
Yep.
Okay, any other commission questions? Seeing none,
I'll make the motion, but I wanted,
Commissioner Lee? Oh, come on up, Ray.
If I could just make a statement, just as the public, I'm really concerned if we start hunting into January. I don't like that. We start hunting these animals in August, and now, we're pushing January 1st. Now we're talking January 31st. There was talk about January 10th. I would like the commission to consider giving the animals a little bit of break. And I'm not sure how much hunting pressure there is in that specific unit, but just, I know in our area, we're hunting them from August to January already, and that's a lot of pressure on them. Thank you.
You probably should address that, Ken. We have population objectives, and it's very different from White Pine County to that northwestern portion of Elko in terms of our numbers, our data, the growth of that herd, and I just think it's an extraordinary circumstance that if the population was at a certain growth curve, we were 10, 20% below the population objectives, maybe we wouldn't need to, but I think.
And I think I would agree with Ray. I don't think we want to see this on a wide basis, but there's two objectives. One, what Mike said, is we're really chasing this elk herd now, and we feel like we really need to harvest elk to keep that herd and within objectives. And with the calf ratios that we're seeing in this country, we've got to do kind of take extraordinary actions to get this elk herd back into objective levels. And then the second reason why we're going this late is because of private land issues out there. Is that this year, for the first year, we have had elk coming down on both the IL and the Patan Ranch, which are two of the biggest ranches in the state of Nevada. And we've talked to both ranch managers, and they would welcome the opportunity to have cow hunters out there that they could direct to their field. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of why we're going this late. And another reason why we feel okay with this is because we really don't have a lot of deer winter ranges where these elk hunters are going to be on top of deer winter ranges in this area. So, hopefully we don't have to go this drastic everywhere, but it is to the point in Elko County where we're having to do some extraordinary measures to keep these elk herds within objective levels.
Ken, with respect to the 11 and 22 units, extending it to January 10th, can you speak to that one? Because it sounded like your comments were actually to the 06 units.
You're talking about the expansion if we were to...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not as desperate in those areas, but we're always on the edge here of having that elk herd exceed their population objectives also. And it's just a matter of trying to get enough hunting pressure in there on top of deer hunts and everything else to achieve our objectives in there also.
Okay.
Corey?
Just a quick comment for the record, Corey Lytle. We also had a couple of my cab members actually talk with some of those late cow hunters. And another factor down in our area, and it's real similar, Ray's kind of in the same boat. A lot of those late hunters, they were not hunting more than a couple weekends. And so if we, let's watch this for a couple of years, see what happens, and go from there, I think. Because they weren't putting 9, 10 days on that hunt. And so I think I'm really leery to push it any further than January 1.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'll wait till the public comments.
All right.
Just one more point of clarification. If you are going to recommend a season beyond January 15th, we need a footnote, maybe January 20th, if it's past that, and I'll just show you to accommodate a later hunt return deadline. So for example, under the 4107, if the season went through January 13 or 31, the deadline for submitting the takeholders big game hunt questionnaire would be changed to a bit later, with January 31st is the deadline in the regulation, but this would modify it to accommodate something where we need to give the hunters at least a couple weeks to get their hunt return in. So if you're going to accommodate a motion with a season date past January 20th, I would ask you add that similar language to allow for that, the hunt questionnaire to be later.
Okay, come on up.
Yeah, for the record, Tom Barnes, Elko County. Obviously, at our meeting, we didn't talk about this other cow season that Commissioner Roy talked about. But as far as, personally, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any issues that would arise from Elko County with that. I think we'd welcome the opportunity to help any of the private landowners as far as maintaining hunter-private landowner relations. And Commissioner Ray, as far as the cow hunt in 065, I personally have seen a lot more elk over there than you never used to see that many, and the occurrence is quite frequent now, and with a lot of numbers. In fact, last summer, we were on our way to a fire along a main road, and we counted 32 cows and calves in one bunch right next to a main road. And we didn't even bother them when we drove by. So there's getting to be quite a few. So if that helps your.
Yeah, I would think that in that unit, there'd be a lot of potential conflict with landowners. Is that your perception in 065?
We haven't had any yet, but the potential is there, because most of the elk are close to the private land there, and the private landowners are seeing quite a few. You know, it's never been an issue yet, but the potential is there, and the elk numbers are there as far as I'm concerned to support a hunt.
Perfect.
Okay, any other public comment? I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Morai?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to the comments on extending those seasons out and pursuing those animals at those later dates, my response to that is, in relationship to the elk situation, the tools and the season structure that we've been using have not been working. The elk populations have been approaching the population level and exceeding it. In those areas that we're talking about, the last two classifications have had over 50 calves per 100 cows. So the means that we've been using are not getting the job done, and that's why we were kind of looking for some different options to try to get somewhat of a handle on the situation. We're seeing more conflicts with landowners as the population increases.
Any other comments? Commissioner Macbeth?
Okay, got a little conflict going on here on this January 1 versus January 10th on these what would be the late cow hunts in 221, 222, and the 223, 224, 223, and 241 units. I guess what I'm concerned about, I hear what you're saying with regard to hunting past January 1, but for a hunt that begins on December 17th and is going to end on January 1 with those with two holidays in there, and with the quota issues that we have and respecting the livestock comment,